what's the point of all that if you don't have someone to celebrate it with? Do you have any strategies for someone like me?
As someone who's a creator and creative, that's a muscle that you have to keep in the gym.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Call Her Creator. I am so excited for today's episode because we're speaking to my twin flame, I think. We're going to talk about some very important topics, and the more I learn about this person, the more I'm just like, oh my God, am I her? Is she me? And you'll probably feel that same way too after you hear Jess speak. So this conversation today is for that very specific girl, the one who's doing all the right things, building the business, showing up, she's making money, but it still feels like she just maybe can't turn off, or if she slows down, she'll lose it all, or everything might fall apart. So I think for a lot of us, success just starts to feel like safety. Like if you make more or do more or become more, then you'll finally feel okay. But Jess is going to show us you'll get there and then you'll be like, wait, why do I still feel like this? So today I get to introduce you to Jess Ekstrom. She's a mother. She's a Forbes top-rated speaker. She's been listed in Inc.'s Female Founders 500 list, and she just launched her book, which we'll get to talk about. Jess, I'm really excited for this conversation. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm equally such a fan, twin flames all the way. Yeah. And when you said for a lot of us, success feels like safety, that hit so hard. I'm like, can I go back to my editor and put that in the book? Because it's so true. We think that there's going to be something that, oh, once I get this, then I'll feel like I can relax or then I'll feel safe. And that moment never comes. So how do we deal with that? So I love that you said that.
It never freaking comes.
It never does.
Or we think it's coming and we're like, oh, it's here. And then I'm like, no, it's not.
It's fleeting.
It's really bad too. There's a lot of girlies that listen to this podcast, so I don't mind talking about our cycles. But I'm in that luteal phase right now, and so Sunday I'm all in my feels. And I told my husband, I'm like,
burn it down. Yeah.
Well, I say that every other week, but I'm like, You know what? I'm not ambitious. I'm just too scared to lose it all. It's just a safety thing for me. And he's like, come on, yes, you are ambitious. I'm like, no, I'm not. It's a safety. Do you feel do you feel more safe when you're successful?
It's so interesting because, I talk about this and making it without losing it. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in high school, I was on the track team and it took me a while to, I can say this, we're girls. It took me a while to even own this, but I was the state champion discus thrower. And I thought that was made me look manly because I could throw something really far. Now I'm really proud of it because I have a daughter. I'm like, hell yeah, throw it, do it. But I won the state championship my junior year and I didn't come back and compete my senior year. And I came up with some excuse. And when I think about that, I was I was afraid to lose it, because I already got it. Yes. And so there's kind of these two different types of ambition that we pull from. We have underdog ambition where we're scrappy and no one's expecting anything of us. We have maybe we're starting a new platform from scratch. We are a podcasting, but it's just our mom listening and we can just make mistakes. No one is expecting anything of us. We can be scrappy. And the good thing is everyone loves an underdog. We love an underdog story. We love Seabiscuit, Jamaican bobsled team. But then this other part that we play form that you're talking about, Caitlin, is a champion motivation where we switch from playing to win to playing not to lose. Oh. And that is a completely different type of ambition that we pull from of protecting versus gaining. And so I totally feel like that. I feel when I first started my first company was out of my dorm room in college. I was like, whatever, slap a headband on a website, sell it. Cool. I made $15 today. And then now that I have all these things surrounding me, or what it feels like, because I also recognize no one's looking at your shit as much as you think that they are. Almost my confidence wavers a bit because I feel like I'm playing not to lose instead of playing to win. But the reality is that if you are an ambitious person, because people, when I give when I give a talk, I talk about like the underdog versus the champion mindset. And they ask me
Mhm.
which one's better, like which one should I play from? And my answer is both. Like if you're an ambitious person, your life is going to be a tug of war between beginner and expert. Like you're
Mm.
constantly going to be shifting. Think about how we all feel right now with AI. Like it's scary. It's everyone who was once an expert at something now is like basically relearning their industry with this new thing in it. And so instead of saying like, am I a champion or am I an underdog? Recognize that you're going to ebb and flow between them. And that's okay.
Mm. I love that, I love that, and speaking of the headbands, I do want you to take us back for a second.
Oh
So
yeah.
for anyone that's just, tuning in, I always like to start with, like, your story of how you got to where you got because there's
Mhm.
so many of us women out there that wanna build something really cool and they don't know where to even start. So tell us your story first.
Yes. Let me think of where I want to begin. So it started when I was in college, I would say. My family, when I was in high school, went through this pretty public scandal of my mom's uncle. This is like the podcast version. Yeah, I'm like, let me say the real version on here. Um,
Yeah.
my mom's uncle is Bernie Madoff, who's like the biggest
Okay.
financial fraud in history. He's like um stole a bunch of money from people. $64
What?
billion dollars, like with a B.
What?
Uh and so we lost all our money. People lost all their money. It was a very public thing that my family experienced. And so I kind of was it kind of just woke me up a bit of like, what is life? What do I want to do with this life? Um, so when I got to college, I just wanted to make something of myself. And if I'm being honest, make something of myself to kind of make my parents happy
Mm,
again. Not that I felt like looking back, they're awesome, but I was like, "I'm gonna just do something so good that's almost gonna cover up this bad," you know?
uh-huh.
And so it started, I got an internship in Disney World. That Disney internship led to a Make-A-Wish internship, which that's when I discovered just this opportunity where I was like, there's so many kids that are losing their hair to chemotherapy, being offered wigs
Mm,
and hats and wanting to wear headbands. And I just thought it was such a cool gesture of confidence, that they wanted to wear headbands instead of covering up their heads. So I started a company called Headbands of Hope. For every
mm,
headband sold, we donate one to a child with an illness. And I mean, it was a bumpy road, but I eventually went on to donate millions of headbands all over the world. Did headbands for the NBA, the WNBA, sold in Kohl's, just all these like really cool things. And just to kind of bring it back here, it was always like the next thing is going to be the thing that scratches that itch or checks that box or
uh,
gonna be the reason why I can say I did it. And that company eventually went on to get acquired, right before I was 30 and um which was like, kind of when you start a business is almost it's like if you were looking for a finish line, that was it, there and it was this like I don't know, just this identity crisis that I went through. Uh, and then I just talked to a bunch of different people, no matter where they're at in their careers, whether they're self-employed, whether they're working for a company, whether they're just, working parent or stay-at-home mom. Everyone has these, I call them false summits in the book, these like things that we think are going to be the threshold of happiness that just never hits the way we want it to. I'm like, man, if I'm experiencing this, and I bet a lot of other people are, this idea that like achievement, we perceive it as less than, like ambition is of like a place that we haven't arrived yet.
uh,
And when we're not there yet, there's like just never a moment to be proud of who we are or happy in who we are. So making it without losing it came from this quest of like, can we be ambitious towards the future and fulfilled and happy in the present at the same time?
Mm.
And we can, but it's a very constant, like, rewiring that we have to do.
Have you been to therapy?
I have. Can you tell?
No, well, yes and no, but I just hear your words and it's just like, it's so good. What you're saying to me, I went to therapy for some of this stuff and so it's you are definitely like, you're nurturing me with your words right here, and I know there's a girl out there too, that's hitting a milestone or, making maybe they've hit their goal, but then they feel confused when it
Right,
doesn't
doesn't
feel how
feel.
they expected it to feel,
Was there
yeah.
anything that
What do
you
you
learned? I wanna know from you. Was there anything that helped you through that you learned in therapy?
Oh god. Um Um, I've learned a lot. I think one of the biggest things was, I do a lot of things myself, right?
Mm,
And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just this ambitious, independent woman," and no, the therapist is like, "Actually, no, that's not ambition, that's grief." And I was
mhm,
like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And then she's like, "Biologically, we are you lean on your parents for the thing, and
yes.
the way that I grew up, my parents had me very young. My mom was 17 when she had
Mm,
me. So she was still a child herself, and my parents weren't the best parents. Luckily, I had
uh,
really great grandparents. And my mom, we've talked about this, she has apologized, and she's being a better mom now that we're older. But that was very traumatic in my lifetime, and, like, this was through, like, grade school, college, all the things. We haven't had a relationship really until I got older is when we started to really understand each other. But I learned that a lot comes from, your
childhood.
childhood wounds and stuff like that. And I think
So
that's where my
interesting.
success comes from too, why I strive so hard to build something is one from
Mhm,
safety, but two, because I'm trying to get that attention maybe,
mhm,
which when I think about that, I don't want attention from this stuff, but there is that, I've built this Instagram following. My main goal is visibility, but I think there's something deeper there, and I'm
yeah.
still working through that.
Yeah, and I love that you're even thinking about it because
Yeah.
I think, you and I have a very similar story where it was like kind of something happened in childhood that we are using accolades and achievement to cover up. And it doesn't mean that you have to have some like traumatic experience. Maybe you do,
Sure.
that is making you maybe be more ambitious or achievement driven. But I think it's important to take a step back and recognize like who am I trying to please right now?
Mm,
Because if it's like the boy that dumped me, or the parent that didn't show up to my games, or the teacher that said I would never make something of myself. And granted, for all of those people, there's also amazing teachers and everyone else. And um,
yes.
recognizing like, oh, when I realized I was trying to be super successful to fill a gap that no one asked me to fill in my family, uh, that I could never fill, then it started to shift from, um, how do I like fill this bucket? And instead, how do I build something that I like who I am while I'm building it and I like what I'm building along the way? And I
Mhm.
think one of the big things that I think about when I look at like what I want to go after is I run it through something called the purpose test. And I talk about this and making it without losing it. And we can all do it right now on this show. But
Yep.
if you imagine the thing that you're chasing, whatever it is, maybe it's a follower count, maybe it's um, a project, a role, whatever it might be. And then imagine that you got it. It's yours. You got the email, you refreshed, you got the phone call. But the kicker is that no one knows it's you. You have to remain anonymous. You can't tell your partner, you can't post on LinkedIn. And then ask yourself, like, if I got the thing that I'm chasing, but then I had to remain anonymous, would I still do it?
Oh my
And
god.
for a lot of us, maybe that changes. Maybe it's like,
That 100% changes for me.
yeah, it does it.
Yeah, it does. Like,
Yeah.
because what are we working towards this. I always say I'm doing it for my children so that they can have, like, the best life. But, like, if my children didn't I don't even you know what's something else I struggle with, Jess, is I don't know what do you have a finish like, not a finish
Yeah,
line, but,
like a
like, do
threshold.
you have a goal?
No.
I don't either. I
I
don't know what
don't.
it is.
I know. And so that usually, like, we want, "Oh, this is the amount of money that I need," or, "This is the amount of followers that I need," or whatever it
That's
might
it.
be. And most things don't have clear finish lines. In fact, I would argue the best things don't have finish lines. I mean, raising kids, like, creating a culture, like, self-exploration, there's none of those things have, like, a clear done, even though we look for it,
Uh,
and I call them, like, pickle jar problems. It's very clear when we're struggling to open a pickle jar, which I will never ask my husband to help me. I It's clear whether you do it or you don't. It's like a pass fail, which is really satisfying, when you hear that pickle jar pop. But most things in our life, most problems that we have aren't pickle jar problems. They're more nuanced. Like, how much money do I need? How many am I like, do I have enough friends? Am I, like, healthy enough? And so we have to kind of learn to be comfortable in the nuance of, like, not pass fail, yes, no, did it, didn't do it,
mm,
which means we have to get comfortable, like, in the process of things. Like, maybe getting healthy is more important than just being healthy, like a threshold, or maybe, like, growing our business is more important than having a, like, Forbes Inc. whatever business. And when you look at some of, like, the top people, I don't know, like Caitlin Clark or whoever, it's not because they had a goal that they, like, wanted to hit, like, one thing. It's usually because she just, like, loves playing basketball. And I'm not saying that we have to just, like, love every second of it, but I do think in order to be great at something, we do have to find a way to enjoy it.
in the words of Miley Cyrus, "It's
It's
the
the climb.
climb." Like, that's all
I
that's
know
going through my head.
it feels so cliche, but it so is. And there's even
It
brain
really
studies about it. Like dopamine, the happiness hormone that we're all chasing in our brain that we wanna feel. They studied our
mhm.
brains at Vanderbilt University and showed that, like, we actually don't get the hit of dopamine at the outcome. We get it in anticipation of the outcome. We get it in the process. And that's why so many singular achievements or singular days have such a big letdown afterwards. Like, you hear people that it's like you get married and it's like you spend so much time focused on the wedding, and then it's like, boom, it's over and you feel kinda shitty. Or Olympic athletes have talked about this. Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, about, like, a depression after the Olympics because you, like, spend all this time focused on this one moment. And so my kind of, like, you asked if I have goals, and I think as a company, it's great to have goals so you know that everyone's kinda pointed in the right direction, like measurable goals. But I know that I I if I get too attached to, like, singular moments, outcomes, endorsements, this person, that person, need to get, this book is coming out, I need to hit the New York Times or, like, any of that, then I'm just
Mhm.
basically attaching my worth and my happiness to something that I can't control, and that's just not how I wanna live.
So what can we do instead? And is this why you wrote the book so that you could help women that are, measuring
Yeah,
their worth up against their success? Like, is that why you thought to write this book?
100%. I mean, you and I could jam on this forever because it's like this. I think when we're kids, you go to school and you're told, "Oh, you completed 1st grade, you get to go to 2nd grade. 2nd grade, you go to 3rd grade." And you have these check-ins of report cards of how well you're doing or where you need work, and you know if you're good enough because you make it to the next round. And then all of a sudden that just goes away. And you're like, "Wait, who's telling me how I'm doing and who's telling me if I'm good enough to advance, or if I'm where I'm supposed to be, if I'm learning what I'm supposed to be learning, it just all of a sudden dissolves. And so like our most formative years are told to like, we'll know when it's time to advance and we'll know how we're doing. And then that goes
Sure.
away and it can be like a total mind fuck, excuse my French. But
No, you're right.
uh so I wrote this book for anyone, but I have a soft spot for women who might feel stuck in that like kind of survive and advance hamster wheel. And the thing is that I think I had this fear that, and I don't know if you've had this fear, but like if I'm not anxious, if I'm not constantly like worried about what's next, will I lose my edge? Will I
Mm,
not be successful?
mm,
Because I felt like, well, my constant anxiety or pulse on the future is what
yeah.
makes me good. Like as a mom, I had, postpartum anxiety and I'm like, but this is what's keeping my baby alive. Like I need to constantly be worried. And I've found that like this approach to work or whatever it is that you're creating, approach to life, you don't have to suffocate it to be successful. Like you
Mm,
don't have to grip it so tightly to get what you want, to squeeze the juice out of it. In
mhm,
fact, when I became a mom, most of my career is public speaking and I teach other women how to do it, but like a lot of my time is spent on stage. And I was listening to this interview recently with I want to call him Michael Scott, but that's not his name. Steve Carell. And I was like, that's not his real name, Michael Scott. Steve Carell, and he talked about how when he had his kid, like he was notorious bad at auditions. Like anytime he'd go on an audition, he was so bad at it. Then when he had a kid, he got really good at auditioning because he had something else that was more important
mm.
than that. And
Oh,
I felt that with speaking. I look at footage before I had kids and after, and I'm not saying you have to have kids to, like, loosen your grip on something, but I recognized what happened when I loosened my grip on an outcome and when I loosened my grip on trying to win everyone over, that I actually
sure.
got better at it. I had more fun, I was more loose, I could do more, like, improv, crowd work because I wasn't like, "Okay, here is the thing, here is my script, here's what I'm gonna say, and this has to be good." And, so I think for any, like, person or woman out there that is just tightly gripping a date on their
Mm,
calendar, uh, a singular moment, an achievement, like, once I then I mindset, then making it without losing it is hopefully can get you on the right adjust your track.
I can't wait to read it, and that really hits me too because, the end of last year, I really started feeling burned out just because 'cause I've had my grip so grippy,
Yeah.
even though, again, I can't tell you I think I have, a money goal in my mind that I
Mm,
wanna hit. It's like I always get so close and then I drop the ball or something, and I'm not even dropping the ball, but I'm just not hitting that goal.
yeah.
Um, but for the last 5 years, I have been hustling my ass off to hit that, and it's taken a toll on my health. So at the end
Mm,
of last year, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and this came up with rashes on my skin. It made me very tired.
yeah.
I got shingles twice too during
I
all
got
of this.
stress-induced shingles too.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
it
And
happens.
and it was at that moment when I was like, "Holy shit, this is not worth my health."
Mhm.
Like, I can't even get out of bed some days, and I have 2 children that need their mom, and, like, I would much rather do what I love to do, but not have such a strong grip on it to where I have to reach that goal, and, like, I'm so stuck on that goal and everybody else is just a blur, like, that's just not my main focus anymore, and so at the end of
Yeah.
last year, I'm like I almost went into, like, my soft girl era, but I'm
Mhm.
still my booty off, I do my work every single day, but, like, today, I know I have meetings till about 2 o'clock, and then I'm going to log the F off because I
Mhm.
need to spend some time with my children. The last 2 days, I've been on my phone doing stuff because we're launching a new offer and things like that, but what's the point of all that if you don't
Yeah.
have someone to celebrate it with or you have bad health?
It's so spot on, Caitlin, of focus on the gain and not the cost. It's like,
Yes.
I'm gaining this much money, I'm gaining this much status, I'm gaining this,
Mm,
but what is it costing me? And is it costing me time? Is it costing me health? Is it costing me sanity? You know? And I think that there's so much talk around success without talking about the cost. There was this like fitness influencer that I follow, and he was talking about how like you see these super jacked people on like TikTok and Instagram and six-pack abs, and he's like, and they're doing like all you have to do is like 5 push-ups a day and 30 pull-ups, and like this is how I maintain. And he's like, the life that they live is maybe not like worth it to you to get that physique, get that like body. Like they're
yeah.
not having like unlimited chips and salsa at like,
Mhm.
you know, Taco Tuesday. And I'm like, yeah, I like my unlimited chips and salsa.
Me too.
I like eating the rest of my kids' peanut butter and jelly, even though I just ate my own lunch. Like, I like not freaking out about that stuff. So I am okay with the physique that I have. And it's the same thing when it comes to like work and business.
Mhm.
I've seen the bigs up close, like not like super up close, but like Brene Brown or, Simon Sinek and Mel Robbins. And I'm like, holy cow, I respect, mad respect the hustle, but I
Mm,
wouldn't trade the lifestyle. So I am good with like my 10, 20, 30% maybe year over year growth. It's not this like hockey stick, can't believe Cinderella
mhm.
story, but the lifestyle that I live where I'm like done at 3, I'm picking and choosing what speaking I want to do. So I'm not on a plane every week like I was 5 years ago. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the chips and salsa unlimited form of business where I'm like, the cost is too much for me right now
Yes.
to be that.
That's what I came to the understanding of too. Because Mel Robbins, well, you saying her, that's like that was a goal I thought I wanted. I
Mhm.
thought I wanted Mel Robbins status, a podcast, and then I'm like, "Wait, that means let's really look back
Think
on
about
what
what
all
that
she
means. Yeah.
had to do." She can't
Yeah.
just go into Target and go shopping probably, like, actually, I
Yeah.
don't want that.
And also, the world already has a Mel Robbins. And so
Right.
something that I like talk about in
Mm,
Mic Drop Workshop is like a lot of people say, well, I just want to be like the next Mel, the next Brene, the next Rachel Hollis, like whatever it might be. And I'm like, those people already exist. And
yeah,
so what is it that like you have to say that you're doing? And you could do it in a way that they're not. I
yeah,
mean, Mel has her own playbook, and maybe Caitlin has a different one.
yeah.
And it could mean that you reach a level of success that you really like without the expense of your peace or your health.
Mm,
And I think in, obviously I'm on every platform, this like show is Color Creator. There's a lot of people that are online, and it is
yes.
so easy to just like start painting your version of success because you
Mm,
see someone else's.
mhm,
It's like, well, I should vacation with my family in Europe for 6 months, or I should be further along because this person is. And I one time got in like a not an argument, but it was like a damaged relationship because I was so in my head about what other people were doing that I just had to unfollow people
mhm.
that were for no fault of theirs. Their
Yes.
success was making me feel less. And that
Mhm.
was me, not them. And then one of them had something that showed them where they were unfollowed. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing where people could see
Oh,
that you unfollow them. And she reached out to me, like, why'd you unfollow me? I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't like, and I just had to be honest. I was like, you're crushing it. And that's awesome. I'm just in a spot. This was like 10 or so years ago. I'm just in a spot where that makes me feel really insecure and I'm working on it.
Uh-huh.
And now I do feel like I'm in a point where I can be genuinely excited for other people, and I've built a whole business off of creating my own competitors in my space. Like, I want to see other women speaking and being on stages, but you have to get so comfortable in your own abilities and knowing that you have a unique way to get there. Like, you have an
Yeah.
individual path that's gonna be different than their path, because otherwise it feels like there is just one track and one person and one way that's gonna get
Yeah.
there, and if they took it, then it's gone, which just isn't the case.
Not the case. I would actually like for you to break that down a little bit more nitty-gritty too, because
Uh-huh.
just this weekend, you probably saw it too on Instagram. There was a bunch of the bigger girls together, like Amy Porterfield, Maria
Mhm.
Went, Jen Gottlieb. Did you see they were all together? It was like
I
this eight-figure business owner.
Okay, yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably saw it, yeah.
I caught myself being like, feeling jealous. And
Mm.
I'm like, that first of all, stay in your lane, Caitlin. Like they've they've built incredible businesses. But what for someone that does that, I know I'm not the only woman that does that. What
Mhm.
are some real life things that I could do, Jess, that make me step back and not get in that mindset? Like, do you have any like
Yeah,
strategies for someone like me when that happens?
I do, and I've felt it before too, and it's not even, like, watching all the big people get together. It goes back to just, like, I remember as a kid being, you know, at school and hearing about a birthday party the past weekend that, I wasn't invited to, or, like, we all have these moments where you're like, "Oh, that sucks." Like, I wasn't there. So there's this part of the book, I'll share a story first and then I'll give you the framework. But I went to this retreat for women and who were like business owners, and everyone there was like in their 30s, maybe 40s. And then I saw this woman there who was probably late 70s, early 80s. And I was like, wow, what a baller move to like come to this retreat. And so I'm talking to her, and I don't know what came over me. It was so rude, but in the moment, it worked, but this question sounds super rude. I said to her, I was like, "Do you ever get self-conscious showing up to these things, with the age that you are versus the age everyone else is?" She goes,
Yeah.
I do. I walk in the room, I look at everyone, and then I just go, "Oh, well." And then I just go about my day. And I was like, "What a power move." She didn't have a running pros and cons list. She didn't try to push herself into the positive. She just recognized the situation for, like, not
What it
what she
was.
wanted it to be, and then she was like, 2 words, "Oh, well." And then, like, it's almost like I think sometimes when I try to say, like, "You shouldn't feel worried about this, like, it's okay, other people can have friends," and it almost is just putting kerosene on a fire that already exists when I try to make sense of it. And
Yeah.
so finding, like, a thought interrupter for you that allows you to
Yeah.
validate the feeling of being left out without attaching to it, and even better yet, not making a supplemental narrative of, like, well, they probably are all talking about, like, this or that. And so I've found myself in so many scenarios, being like, "I wish that a gig that I applied for, and then I see that who they selected, and it wasn't
Yes.
me." And I'm just like, I could say, "Well, what does she have that I don't?" Or,
Mhm.
"What were they looking for that I didn't have?" And instead, I'm just like, "Oh, well," and go about my day. And I'm not perfect at that. Of course, I have to work at it, but I would just say, like, don't even try to make sense of it, and don't give it
Mhm.
more airtime, and find your phrase. Maybe it's like, "That sucks," whatever it might be, and have that be your thought interrupter so you can recognize the feeling for what it is, which feels kinda shitty, but then move along into something else and not give it more space.
I love "Oh, well," and I'm probably gonna name this podcast title, "Oh, well."
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? That is so good. It's so dumb because we should
Yes.
all say it, but it's like,
Oh, well.
that's mind blowing, actually.
It really is. It's like the simplest thing, And in a world full of, like, hacks and steps and mental gymnastics, I'm like, "Just give me something to cut the mental gymnastics." And, I told her, I was like, "You should write a book called Oh Well." Like, that I would read it in a second.
Wow. Sign
But it
me
would could
up.
just be one page because it's so simple.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that so much. That's my new phrase, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
Um, okay, you're amazing. I love this
me
conversation.
too.
Talk to us, when is the book launch for sure? Like, I heard you saying upcoming.
May 5th is when it comes out, so you guys are listening to this potentially before it comes out, and
Yep.
so if you go on my website, jessekstrom.com/making it, there's some fun pre-order perks that you can be a part of to, get it early.
I love this. And can from a creator point of view, because I have a lot of ambitious creators that listen
Yeah.
to this podcast, what are you doing to promote this book? Like, if
Ooh,
someone has an
great
offer
question.
out there, might not be a book, it might be a digital course or their first PDF guide. Tell us some of the things that you're doing to get your book out there.
Okay, this is such a great question, and I would say, in a world of, like, digital information,
Mhm.
which we is awesome, and that's, like, our bread and butter, what we do at Mic Drop Workshop is delivering digital information. One of the things I am so glad that we accidentally did years ago in 2018 when I started Mic Drop was we built a community of women speakers that has
Mm,
grown exponentially. We have around, like, 5,000, women in that close community, but then our email list for all the, um, free programs and things that we do is, like, almost 300,000 women on our email list, and I am so glad that I built a community before I needed it,
mm,
and so if you're thinking about, like, that you might have a book or a podcast or something that you eventually wanna launch, before I think about, like, how do I push it, I would think about how do I, like, bring people together in a way that's delivering value without asking something big of them first. Maybe it's like a, free boot camp or a training and it doesn't always have to be free, but I'm just
yeah.
like, "Man, I am so glad that we've built a community before I had stuff to deliver to it." So I would say that.
Okay.
And then the other things that, I did that could be interesting for creators on here is, I'm someone who my attention span is so short, just like everyone else, and it's getting worse by the second. And so I'm like, if I am not super excited to sit down and read a book from start to finish, maybe not a ton of other people are. So I created and I hope the book is entertaining enough to where you want to, but just in case, I created a custom GPT, called your Success Fingerprint Coach. And
Oh,
there's this part of the book where it helps you figure out, like, how did you define success in your childhood, like we were talking about at the beginning of this show, and how do you
okay.
wanna define it going forward in this, like, season of your life, and it breaks it down into steps, boundaries, what you want your day to look like, and things like that. And so I made it into a custom GPT, which was super easy to do, and it's not sourcing from anywhere on the internet except for the book.
Okay.
And so people can use it as like a pocket coach,
Oh,
when they buy the book. I found that and just meeting people where they are, which might not be sitting in a field reading a book,
no.
is helpful in just the marketing of, um, like, just basic expectations. I'm like, "Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Life is hard. So here's a different resource if that's helpful for you." So maybe creating an AI tool that's like a companion. I don't
Mm,
necessarily want a full AI product that replaces what we're doing, but even in our
yeah.
course, we have, we call him Mike. It's like our assistant, and if you're looking for something that you can't find, Mike only feeds from the IP that we give it. If you're looking for,
Wow.
like, a contract or, like, "Oh, the event came back and they said this and they want that, what do I say?" It pulls from our own IP, and so it's supplemental to the course, but not
Okay.
in replacement of it. So I would maybe play around with building an AI tool.
I love that. Okay. So
And I'm,
good.
like,
You're
the
so
least techie person ever, and the great part is you can just ask AI how to build it, and it'll tell you.
Isn't that wild? I
I
love
know.
it. I love
It's
it and hate
crazy.
it, right? But
Right, I
I
know.
love it when it's cool. So,
I
that's
did see
awesome.
someone post the other day, if they wouldn't give the task to an intern, they're not giving it to AI. And that has been a good guardrail for me because as someone who's a creator and creative, it's like that's a muscle that you have to keep in the gym.
Mm.
And if we are like, "Oh, well, I just have, something that I could skip the gym," it's like then we lose that muscle. And so
Oh,
I wouldn't ask like an intern to like share my thoughts or opinions or ideas, create my own thoughts or opinions. I might ask them to proof it. I might ask them to research something for me,
yeah.
but I'm not asking them to create my ideas. And so that's been a good like quick test before I open up a AI source.
I love that. That is super, super helpful. Thank you. Ah, this was so good. Very good conversation. I loved this. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Caitlin. And I've been following you, and you are it just goes to show like stuff that you're telling me. I'm like, you just never know what people are going through behind the scenes. And
Yes.
just because, of course, on my lens, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got it all figured out. She doesn't have a problem in the world and she's
No.
just crushing it. And you are. But it's
You.
like, oh, everyone has their own path, their own journey. And I
Mhm.
appreciate you being transparent about it because that's just helpful for everyone else. So
Oh,
thank you.
yes. I will always be. Thank you so much. And how can people connect with you?
Yes, I'm not hard to find. I'm very available on the internet. You can buy Making It Without Losing It wherever like books are sold. I love local, so if you can ask your local bookstore, that'd be great. And then I do send out a text every Monday with like a hype text or a quote, a question, something to chew on throughout the week. I send it
Okay.
at 11 a.m. Eastern. So you can
Okay.
text me the word hype to 704-228-9495 and you'll get that every Monday at 11.
I love that.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's my
you're
favorite thing I do. Yeah.
I'm gonna sign up right now. Awesome. Okay, well, this was amazing. I really genuinely I love your story. I love everything that you're doing, and
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to read your book. So thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. You're the best.
Yeah.